Hello, all. It's a pleasure to be part of the conference Home Like Hospital Birth. My name is Amira Cerimagic. I am a birth activist, a physician, a doula, and a mother of 4 from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Lenka invited me to submit my inquiry to participate in this conference. Luckily, I have met her and I have met Paul through my journey with birth activism, but also with the journey of my home birth. So I have 4 children. My 4th baby is currently 9 months old, and I gave birth to my first 2 children in a public maternity ward here in Bosnia. And just to quickly introduce you to the situation of birthing in Bosnia and Herzegovina, basically we only have public maternity wards, and they are local. So basically, where your health insurance is in the city where you are, that's the only hospital you can go to. And from maybe 5 to 10 years ago, private maternity wards are opening, but the majority are still pretty much have the same hospital routine as the public maternity wards, and it's more of a commercialized setting, meaning that they tend to do more cesarean sections, which are actually paid more for. So I think it's more of a capitalistic approach than, let's say, an activistic approach. So after my 2 births in the public maternity ward, those experiences were traumatic, and basically that's when I started to delve deeper in the whole subject of physiological birth. So I am a medical doctor, but during my faculty, I had gynecology as a subject, and we just had it. Of course, we learned a lot of pathology, and whenever we mention birth, we mention it in a mechanistic kind of way. So you just have a baby that needs to go out. So I never really understood the whole universe that lies behind birth and the emotional, psychological, and every other aspect of a woman and the baby and her partner behind it. So I had to go through these experiences myself firsthand, and then I realized, oh my God, it's also wrong in the hospitals. So after that, I was searching for a way to find an alternative for my upcoming birth. So I actually finished a doula workshop education, and those were my attempts to actually support myself, because in the majority of maternity wards in Bosnia, there are no support persons allowed to enter. So only in a couple of hospitals, the husband, and only the husband, nobody else, can enter, but it's only, we call it a ceremony-like entrance, because the husband only enters to see the child being born. So it's, again, not a support person for the woman who is birthing. And very often the woman leaves behind, for example, her cell phone and goes in by herself. This is all very enhanced. All these, let's say, violations of human rights are especially shown during the pandemic of COVID, where anything that was allowed earlier is now forbidden. So even the maternity wards that allowed for a woman to have a support person or a husband actually just enter briefly, it is forbidden again. So my 3rd birth was before the corona pandemic in 2018. I birthed in a private maternity ward, and it was a stressful experience. It was very nice in terms of a more dignified approach, but still it was a 2-hour drive from my hometown. And again, it's not how birth is supposed to be. There are no midwife-led units here. There are no birthing centers. And as I said, the private maternity wards still pretty much do the same hospital routine. They don't allow you to have freedom of movement, or if you do want to have it, then the medical staff is really anxious and scared of what is happening. So you're just going in a different approach that they're not comfortable with. So for my 4th birth, I decided to make it a home birth, and I delved into the legislation part where I asked my health institutions to provide me a midwife or a gynecologist, and I knew beforehand that they would reject my requests, but that was a path I took in terms of going to the very last resort. So after I went to my constitutional court of my country, I proceeded with the application to the European Court of Human Rights, the same as the Ternovsky case from Hungary, but also the other cases from the Czech Republic, Croatia, Lithuania, etc. So just in November, we applied with our application, and we will see how it goes. Hopefully, we have a couple of specificities in our case, meaning that we are talking about the COVID pandemic, and we were talking about giving a home birth in the pandemic circumstances of hospitals in our country, and also, for example, that I am a physician who actually knows hospital birth, that I've worked in them as a resident, for example, or an intern, and also that I've had previous hospital births. So we will see how our arguments go in this case, and also that Bosnia has a very complex health system. It's also the downside of why our maternity words aren't so good. So whenever we say that we actually sued our country because it's not providing for home births, we're not talking just about home birth. So what this would mean in the end, legally speaking, is that we will make space for future birthing centers or midwife-led units to arise, especially from a couple of years ago. We started having faculties for midwifery, which will actually give them ground and a place to work. And not just that, because all of our midwives who are working now in the hospital setting basically do not have anywhere to learn what a home birth is or how a midwife-led physiological birth looks like. So if we manage to make any legal changes, this would provide not just for home birth, but many more other options. And hopefully, if we have a more educated midwives who will learn in the community setting, and if they go again back in the hospital, they will again have the opportunity to provide home-like births in the hospital as well. So I think it has to go from the community, the direction has to go from the community towards the hospitals, and we have to provide it for them. Thank you.